According to many, education without determination and value is ineffective. I don't want to put you on hold for too long, so let's proceed to this video's main agenda. A pleasant day to our listeners, viewers, and most especially our fellow learners. This is Shania. In video, viewers are expected to learn about simple interest. Oh, before anything else, don't forget to prepare your pens, papers, and if necessary, a correction pen. Buckle up as we are about to enter the world of general mathematics, simple interest. First, when the word simple interest was mentioned earlier, what came into your thoughts? Does it remind you of your admiration towards someone? Sorry to burst your bubble, but we are pertaining interest as a jargon. To begin, a simple interest is an interest calculated on the principal portion of a loan, or in simpler terms, the original contribution to a savings account. This is also the simplest and most common type of interest. Here is the first fact about simple interest. It doesn't compound. What does that mean? It simply modifies that an account holder will only gain an interest on the principal, and the borrower, on the other hand, will never have to pay an interest on an interest that is long accrued. Who says that equations only exist in algebra? Here is the formula in calculating simple interest. P times R times T, where P means principal and R means rate of interest in percent per annum, and T means the rate of interest is in percentage, R percent, and is to be written as R over 100. And above is the aforementioned calculation for the simple interest. Before we proceed, we would like to request each and everyone to take note of the key terms featured in the screen, for these terms are frequently asked questions during exams, and also they are applicable in our lives. So, if you may ask, what is an interest? Interest is the amount paid by someone who borrows a certain amount of money. This term is commonly used in banks, loans, installments, and investments. Also, associated with percent, rate, and the length of time for which the amount of money is borrowed. Besides that, here are some important terms to bear in mind. Who knows, you may encounter them in the future. First, the borrower. This person serves as the amount's receiver and will be paying back the same amount with the interest on the required date or time period negotiated with the lender. Second, the lender. This person is the one responsible for giving the amount to the borrower. Third, the loan. The money being borrowed temporarily that is to be paid after a certain period of time. And last, but definitely not the least, is the percent, 1 part in 100. In order to truly comprehend and calculate simple interest, one must know its important factors. There are only 3 common factors to be considered with regards to simple interest. Factors of simple interest. Principal. This is the amount of money being borrowed. This could be loaned from a bank or any loaning establishment or borrowed from a person. This will be the basis of how much will be paid with the additional compensation for borrowing.
Here are some facts about simple interest. Did you know? Simple interest is what it costs to borrow money without compound interest. Simple interest is calculated by looking at the principal amount borrowed. Simple interest is more advantageous for borrowers than compound interest.
Rate of interest. This is the percent to be used to calculate the additional amount to be paid along with the principal. Common rates of interest range from 1 to 10%, but it can also be higher depending on the agreement between the parties. Time. This is the period from the beginning when the money was borrowed to the period when the money should be returned with the additional amount, interest. This can also be called a term or deadline. This should be properly and strictly be observed, especially in huge amounts of loans. In addition, there are the different kinds of simple interest. There are basically two types of simple interest, ordinary and exact. Ordinary, simple interest is a simple interest that uses 360 days as the equivalent number of days in a year. Meanwhile, exact, simple interest is a simple interest that uses the exact number of days in a year, which is 365 or 366 for leap year. Reminder to all listeners, viewers, and fellow learners. These two kinds of simple interest are only applicable if the unit of time used is in days. Here is an example. On May 30, 2012, a businessman loans 15,000 pesos in the bank for the expansion of his restaurant. It was agreed that he will pay the amount with 6% rate of interest on August 10, 2012. What is the ordinary simple interest to be paid? Explanation. Principal amount 15,000 pesos. Rate of interest 6%. Counting the number of days from May 30 to August 10. Note, since May 30 is the beginning date, it is not included in counting. May 31, 1, June 1 to 30, 30, July 1 to 31, 31, August 1 to 10, 10, total of 72 days. Converting days into years. 72 days times 1 year, 360 days, times 1 year, 360 days equals 15 years, 15 years. Using the formula for solving the simple interest. Interest equals principal times rate times time equals 15,000 pesos times 6% times 1,515 equals 15,000 pesos times 0.06 times 1,515. Interest equals 180 pesos. Therefore, the businessman will pay 180 pesos interest. Now that you know the definition, kinds, and factors of simple interest, up next is how to calculate simple interest. Computation for simple interest is very easy and convenient to do since all you need to know is basic math. Since it depends on what is asked for in each question, the formulas used and answers may differ. Below are formulae that we must keep in mind. Oh, to avoid confusion, here are the meanings behind the abbreviations that are about to be stated in a while. IS, simple interest. P, principal. R, rate of interest or simply rate. T, time, in year or months. F, future value or maturity value. Without further ado, here are the formulae that should be kept in mind. IS equals PRT or F minus P. F equals P plus IS or P plus PT or F equals P times 1 plus RT. P equals IS over PR or P equals F minus IS. T equals IS over PR. R equals IS over PT. Always keep in mind, Formulas used for solving the interest use years as the unit of time. It should be observed to have consistent units of time in order to avoid miscalculations. It should be noted that the rate should be in decimal form before using it in the formula. So let's practice what we've learned, shall we? The BOF Bank offers a 2% annual interest rate for a specific deposit. How much interest will be earned if 30,000 pesos is deposited in this savings account for 3 years? How long in years will it take for 20,000 to amount to 25,000 at 5.5% interest? Andrea borrowed 15,000 pesos and paid 1,500 pesos interest for 6 months. What was the rate of interest? Find the simple interest on a loan of 45,000 pesos if the loan is given at the rate of 3% and is due in 1 year and 6 months. Here's our first ever example. The BOF Bank offers a 2% annual interest rate for a specific deposit. How much interest will be earned if 30,000 pesos is deposited in this savings account for 3 years? The first thing to do whenever faced with a problem as such is to identify what is given. In this specific problem, we can identify the following given. Rate equals 2% or 0.02, principal equals 30,000, time equals 3 years. If we carefully examine what is being looked for in this situation, it is of interest. The formula for this would be IS equals PRT. The second step is to substitute the values. IS equals PRT. IS equals 30,000 times 0.02 times 3 equals 1,800. Thus, an amount of interest to 1,800 pesos will be earned if 30,000 pesos is deposited in the savings account for 3 years with a 2% annual simple interest rate. See, that wasn't so bad. Let's move on to our second example. How long in years will it take for 20,000 to 25,000 at 5.5%? The values present are P equals 20,000, F equals 25,000, R equals 5.5% or 0.055. It is obvious from the beginning that time is being looked for, but our values are incomplete because the formula for time, IS over PR, needs simple interest. So in order to complete our values, we must first look for the simple interest. IS equals F minus P. 25,000 minus 20,000 equals 5,000. T equals IS over PR. 5,000 over 20,000 times 0.055 equals 4.55 years. Therefore, it will take 4.55 years for 20,000 pesos to amount to 25,000 pesos. Allow me to cite a situation. Andrea borrowed 15,000 pesos and paid 1,500 pesos interest for 6 months. What was the rate of interest? P equals 15,000, IS equals 1,500, T equals 6 over 12 or 0.5. R equals IS over PT. 1,500 over 15,000 times 0.5 equals 0.2 or 20%. Therefore, the rate of interest is 20%. Here is our last and final example. Find the simple interest on a loan of 45,000 pesos if the loan is given at the rate of 3% and is due in 1 year and 6 months. P equals 45,000, R equals 3% or 0.03, T equals 1 and 6 over 12. Remember, it is always important to input the right values. Making a mistake will be detrimental to your solution. F equals P plus PRT equals 45,000 plus 45,000 times 0.03 times 1.5 equals 47.025. Therefore, the future value of this problem is 47.025 pesos. As much as I hate goodbyes, our discussion ends here, peeps. Don't forget to hit the like button below, peeps. You sharing this video will also be a great help for me and my groupmates. Then again, padayon para sa mga puhon, but most importantly, don't forget your pahuways in life.